or a comprehensive medical procedure, at Parkview, your pet isn't just another number, but a valued member of their caring family. Visit them at pahlincoln.com today and in person just south of 14th and Pine Lake Road. Parkview Animal Hospital, your pet, their passion for happier, healthier, furry friends.
Hi, I'm Scott Miller, Business Development Officer at Midwest Bank's Lincoln branches. As a lifelong Lincolnite with over 30 years of experience in financial management, I'm here to help your business grow and succeed. My focus is building strong relationships with businesses and clients across Lincoln. Because at Midwest Bank, we believe banking is about people, not just numbers. Visit us at midwest.bank or stop by one of our Lincoln locations. Your community, your bank. Midwest Bank. Member FDIC.
Are you looking for an exciting new way to put your skills to work? Explore new career options in the fintech industry at Currency, a Sandhills global company. We offer full-time positions in financial sales, compliance, operations, and other fields. We also offer a 4.5-day work week, an attractive benefits package, and opportunities for advancement. Put your motivation to work and grow with us at Currency. Visit gocurrency.com/careers to learn more.
Bauer Underground has been serving local contractors and utility contractors all across the state since 1997. When you see the black and white trucks, you know that the best workers in the business have arrived. Bauer is currently looking for equipment operators, laborers, diesel mechanics, and aerial linemen. Join the brotherhood built on hard work, authentic people, and a pedigree of success. They're offering top-notch benefits, a matching 401k, and a $600 per year clothing allowance. Bauer Underground, a family-friendly company with plenty of room for advancement.
Mike, I've been thinking, our house could really use a makeover. How about new siding?
I've been thinking the same thing. Have you heard of James Hardy?
Yes! Sarah down the street had Roofing Service Company install James Hardy siding on their home, and they love it.
Roofing Service Company does have great reviews.
They took her through the design process and made everything super easy.
Roofing Service Company offers expert design and installation. Couple that with James Hardy's durable products and variety of colors, you and your family will love your exterior remodel. Just visit roofingservicecompany.com. That's roofingservicecompany.com.
Get back on track. Join a weight loss medication study at Solarion and earn cash in the process. If you are 19 to 65 years old with excess weight to lose, you may qualify. Participants could earn up to $15,500 for their time. Study includes 1 3-night stay, 1 2-night stay, and 26 returns. Learn more at helpresearch.com/flamingo or call 866-213-2965. Weight loss not guaranteed.
This ain't pop. This ain't pretty. This is Southern hospitality. The Black Crows. Blues-soaked guitars, outlaw swagger. The Southern Hospitality Tour. Rock and roll the way it was meant to be. Loud, raw, and real. The Black Crows. With South Hall, August 4th. Pinewood Bowl Theater and Lincoln's Pioneers Park. Tickets on sale Friday, February 6th at 10 a.m. at Ticketmaster.com.
Hey guys, this is former UFC fighter and mixed martial artist Anthony Lionheart's. The Upside Bar and Lounge in South Lincoln is the go-to spot for every UFC event, prelims, and main card. There's never a cover, so make sure you get there early and stay late. Upside Bar and Lounge has daily specials, a margarita club, and a taco club. And don't forget, they just added Buzz Bowls to their menu. Learn more about upcoming events by visiting UpsideBarLNK.com and stop into their South Lincoln location for every UFC event on 27th and Pine Lake.
This ain't pop. This ain't pretty. This is Southern hospitality. The Black Crows. Blues-soaked guitars, outlaw swagger. The Southern Hospitality Tour. Rock and roll the way it was meant to be. Loud, raw, and real. The Black Crows. With South Hall, August 4th. Pinewood Bowl Theater and Lincoln's Pioneers Park. Tickets on sale Friday, February 6th at 10 a.m. at Ticketmaster.com.
Select Plumbing and Utility has been serving Lincoln and the surrounding area for 14 years, and they're not slowing down. Select Plumbing and Utility handles all your plumbing needs from faucets and water heaters to full renovations, and they can even help with your heating and cooling needs. They're also Lincoln's underground experts, repairing and replacing broken underground water and sewer lines since day one. Contact Select Plumbing and Utility today at 402-560-6197, assuring excellence in every situation, opportunity, and challenge. That's 402-560-6197.
Just got the brakes fixed on my car today.
You did? You haven't even left the office.
I didn't need to. I got a guy who picks up my car and drops it off when it's done.
Well, who's your guy?
Graham Tire. They have pickup and delivery service at all 5 of their Lincoln locations.
Schedule your service online on the Pickup and Delivery tab at GrahamTireLincoln.com. That's GrahamTireLincoln.com. Let us do the running. Some limitations apply. See store for details.
Coming at you live from the heart of downtown Lincoln, this is Old School with Foreman and Orman. Nebraska Football Hall of Famer Jay Foreman.
Here's Troy Detmer dropping straight back in the pocket. Rifles a pass. It was tipped. It's picked off by Foreman. He's at the 15, 10, 5. He'll score! Foreman got it, and it's touchdown Huskers.
Black shirts answer the call one more time.
And Austin Orman. Old School with Foreman and Orman is sponsored by Graham Tire Company of Lincoln, your tire store next door with 4 Lincoln locations. Old School with Foreman and Orman on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
That's right. Welcome back in. It is another hour of Old School here at 93.7 The Ticket and ticketfm.com. Brought to you by Graham Tire, new title sponsor here for us on Old School. Graham Tire Company is celebrating 75 years of serving the Midwest. They're more than just tires. They do all kinds of car and light truck repairs, too. From brakes to oil changes, trust Graham Tire for service you can count on. Graham Tire, getting you to the places that matter most. 402-464-5685 if you want to be a part of the proceedings. Would love to have you along for the ride as always. Jumping in for Jay Foreman, it's not Nick Wyman, Tristan Gomez. Tristan, what's up? How are you?
I'm happy to be here. Yeah, it's a little warm of a Tuesday out here. Just got here and happy to be on air with you.
Surprise. You're on air.
Yeah.
Welcome in. Appreciate you pinch hitting. Bit of a surprise for Husker football yesterday. They lose an assistant coach to the high school ranks.
Mm-hmm.
Not one that I think many people saw coming or wouldn't have had that one on the bingo card. Yeah, Josh Martin, the guy that's been at Nebraska for a few years now. He's mostly been a special teams guy. Did step up and assist with the tight ends for a while. With Rule's first staff, it has been on special teams duty, one of the few special teams coaches in that room pretty much ever since then. He is leaving to go take over at Liberty Christian High School down in Argyle, Texas. They announced that pretty late last night. And this is a program that's won back-to-back TAPPS state titles, Texas Association of Private and Parochial Schools state titles. That position was open because, Tristan, Jason Witten, former NFL tight end, who had been head coaching down there at Liberty Christian, took the Oklahoma tight ends job. So that's the only reason that was open. And, good for Josh Martin. Wish him nothing but the best down there at Liberty Christian. But, whoa.
Yeah.
Weird. Not one that you would ever really anticipate. I don't know if it's a, good thing or a bad thing. I think we just take it on its face. Hey, we wanted to go back to coaching high school. But man, you gave up an assistant coaching job at Nebraska. And you've been in college football for a while. I know, everything's bigger in Texas. High school football is a big deal in Texas. But man, just a weird vibe around the program that continues with this surprising news.
Yeah, that's super interesting to go from, like you said, you're coaching at Nebraska, which when it comes to NIL, when it comes to just the face that Nebraska is, you go from that to coaching high school football. I'm curious if this was just, I want to have a little bit more power. I want to have a little bit more say. And you get into the Texas high school football ranks and you're a head coach down there. You have the opportunity to really build your own culture and build your own just identity. But it is really interesting when you think if you're trying to build up your career to, possibly become a head coach at the college level, that you go back to high school rather than stay at Nebraska. I'm curious on your thoughts. Do you think that's a way to get into the, head coaching job in college, or do you just stay in college the whole entire time?
You got to go wherever it is you think gives you the best path. And I think for Josh Martin, it makes some sense when you dig into it, because this is a guy with plenty of roots down in Texas. The Omaha World Herald mentions that Josh Martin, was from just north of San Antonio, and his dad was a coach in the Dallas area for a while and is now the executive director of the Texas High School Coaches Association, right? So Josh Martin absolutely has roots down there, right? It's going back to something that he did before He's also been, at SMU, various points in his career, Arizona State. So, he's done a lot down there in the South. That's probably where he's more comfortable, which I totally get. And, head coach is a bigger title than, special teams assistant. Wasn't even the lead special teams guy. Wasn't named the lead special teams coach, even with the departure of Mike Eckler. But now I think, let's stick on the high school aspect before we get back to the Nebraska aspect of it. Maybe, I mean, we've heard of plenty of coaches who have gone from the Texas high school ranks to move up, right? I think Eric Morris was one of those at one point, if I'm not mistaken. Now he was in college for maybe Eric Morris isn't what I'm thinking of, but there have been plenty of those guys. Chad Morris, I think, was the one. Chad Morris instead did that. I think Joey McGuire was a long time, Texas high school coach, or had a lot of connections down there. Of course, a Matt Rule acolyte or disciple. So if you're going to be a successful head coach, you got to go get experience somewhere, right? I don't know if Josh Martin was ever a head coach anywhere before this. But I think if you think about him, if that's what he wants to do, to be a head coach, you got to go get head coaching experience somewhere, maybe, right? I would think that there have been plenty of guys that have laid out that path, just be an assistant, work your way up in the college ranks, and just stay in college, especially at the D1 level. There's no need to go back down to gain specific head coaching experience, but maybe this was too good an opportunity to pass up to be closer to home, to be a head coach. And maybe that's what Josh Martin thinks is going to be better for his future. If that's what he wants, is to take this job, get, actual hands-on, head coaching reps. And then maybe he thinks that could propel him into D2 or the lower level of the, Division I ranks potentially.
Yeah. When you're filling in the shoes for Jason Witten, that's kind of fun and just interesting that Jason Witten was the guy that was the head coach at this school previously. You're going to have some eyes on you. So if he goes down there and has a ton of success after a former, 10-year veteran in the NFL just left, and you fill in his shoes and you have an unbelievable season, or you have 2 or 3, you're going to have a lot of connections, a lot of people that have some eyes on you down in Texas, which maybe that is the path of going to, coaching down here in high school, having a lot of success as a head coach. I've established that I can dominate that title and that role. And then, possibly you get into the D2 ranks or D3 and continuously build yourself up. The interesting part for me is I know, Nebraska isn't the Nick Saban Alabama, but when you look at like the Nick Saban coaching tree, all those guys were, whether it was just a linebackers coach or, a special teams assistant, linebackers coach, and they built themselves up to how many head coaches have we seen that have come out of that? And, Nebraska, like I said, isn't that Alabama team, but you would think, if you continuously just build that path in college football at Nebraska, I bet you have the opportunity to end up somewhere, lower D1, mid-major, where you can become a head coach.
And I don't know if Josh Martin was ever going to be a play caller. He'd been a tight ends coach at times at Nebraska, and then at Arizona State, I believe, as well at times. And Boone and Firth wants to know, how much does that high school job pay? I don't know. From what I can see online, he was making about $100,000 at Nebraska. We had 150 when he was filling in as the tight ends coach. And Hizzlebear says, high school coaches can make $100K or more a year and don't have to travel outside of the town to find talent, don't have to do that full recruiting rigmarole. Yeah, I'm not saying it's not, potentially attractive option. Again, for a guy, if he can make comparable money, move back closer to home and family, and get the head coach title, yeah, absolutely. I don't begrudge the guy, and not at all, right? It's just interesting because you just don't see that move get made very often by a guy that you would think would be kind of in the prime of his coaching career. 7543 says over half the fan base doesn't even know who Josh Martin is. He probably didn't see a chance for growth, so he took a head coaching job. It's not a big loss, except that it might be. When we think about that special teams room for Nebraska, because you have Mike Eckler out the door to USC. Brett Maher is back in Lincoln. He's moved in again. He's one of the assistant special teams guys. And you also have Nick Humphrey, who is a special teams assistant that came with Mike Eckler from Tennessee, about a year ago now in the previous winter. You're down to Humphrey and Maher as your special teams coaches. Brett Maher, you think, would just work with the kickers and the punters, right? Kind of his specialty. And I think this would be a good chance for a guy like Nick Humphrey to, make his name, say, hey, you know what? You can consider me for that special teams coordinator role. But man, if you're Josh Martin, why wouldn't you want that for you? Get good at your job, get better at your job, improve at your job, whatever, show signs of growth. And then you're making double the money if you get, the tap on the shoulder. Hey, we want you to be special teams coordinator. But didn't seem like that's what Josh Martin wanted to do. It just continues to me, Tristan. I think the offseason of weird vibes around Nebraska football, even if all the moves and everything that's gone on is understandable to a degree, it just feels like this has been, I don't want to say the worst vibes. I don't think they're all bad. It's just a weird feeling in your stomach, I think, when you think about Nebraska football, like, that's interesting. Followed by, oh, really? That happened? Followed by, oh, I guess. I just don't know what to make of this Husker football program right now.
Yeah, I think for maybe even this is the idea that is going on at Memorial Stadium and just a practice and all the just going on with the team is we're going to stay quiet. We're not going to be all about the social media and make it seem like we've had the greatest offseason ever. All these transfer portal guys, they should have been 5 stars and things like that. I think now, Nebraska has put a lot of hype in plenty of offseason, and us fans have noticed that, and we've seen it continuously where the hype doesn't pay off, and we go, wow, we really thought we were going to be 11-1 this year, possibly in the college football playoff. And so I wonder if just going on, at Memorial and in those coaches' offices, they're just talking about, all right, let's focus on what we can control. Let's get the guys in. Let's develop, kind of just move in silence. And when, this season comes, we're ready to go. We're ready to play old school Nebraska football where we don't have to do all this talking. I think that's maybe just a optimistic hope that I'm going for. But yeah, like you said, this has been an interesting offseason where random things are happening. I mean, Josh Martin might not have been the, biggest name or a guy that a whole bunch of people knew. But you hope that this is a place where coaches want to continuously build their path, where they want to say, yeah, I'm a coach at the University of Nebraska. This is going to take me to my next huge opportunity, whether it's here or whether it's elsewhere, rather than, I'm an assistant coach at the University of Nebraska. I'm going to go coach high school football now.
Yeah, and I think that when you think about Matt Rule wanting to be the coach that, develops his coaches, right, hasn't necessarily happened, hasn't necessarily come to fruition. And the more successful a team and a program is, the more likely coaches are to take steps up. But you think about all the coaches that have left, all the turnover Nebraska's had, there's been one guy that comes to mind for me that's taken a step up. And even that kind of feels lateral. And Mike Eckler, he gets the extra title, gets his position to coach and whatnot. Okay, good for him. He can, do that. Congratulations. But other than that, has there been a coach in Matt Rule's time that's improved their standing and left Nebraska for a better job? I can't think of one right now. I mean, Tony White, lateral move. Maybe Florida State is a step up. We talked about that one at length, but either way, didn't become a head coach like he was rumored to be. John Butler, I haven't heard anything about him quite yet. Donovan Raiola, has he landed anywhere? I don't know. All these other, guys that have been on Nebraska's staff, they're not necessarily moving forward and up. And maybe that's relative, right? For Josh Martin, maybe this is a step up, to get closer to home. Maybe it's a, better circumstance for him. But when you think about all the turnover that Nebraska's had relative to the turnover that you would usually see from a program like this when it comes to the coaches, you think about your coordinators becoming head coaches. You think about your assistant coaches or position coaches becoming coordinators at some point. That's just not happening. So even if the turnover is normal, the direction of that turnover hasn't necessarily been what you would associate it with.
Yeah, it's a lot of looking elsewhere when it comes to, coaching positions instead of, okay, yeah, we've developed this coach who was the tight ends coach and now he's making his way up. And yeah, we've seen more demotions, I think, than we have promotions when it came to like Satterfield, when it came to Butler. We've seen a lot of guys that have not taken that extra step, which does concern you a little bit when, the hype of the program and Matt Rule is talking about developing players. What we want to do is bring guys in and develop them. And then when you look at this, class in general, we have very few high school guys coming in that we are able to be developed. I think Nebraska is going more of the transfer portal route. Hopefully we can get guys that already are developed. But you want the coaches to be guys that you see getting better as well. I mean, I always think playing baseball in college, the assistants were the guys you talk to. It's the same thing at the college football level. The, position coaches are the ones that are really developing. They're the ones making the relationships. But if they're not guys that are looking like they're going to be on a path to get that promotion the next day or the next year, are these really guys that we should be trusting?
Well, let's talk about that in light of the other sports, right? I think the continuity that Fred Hoiberg has had for the most part has been really good. Obviously, they bring in Pat Monahan over this offseason, but that's really been the biggest move, right? I mean, Matt Eldamasi leaves early in the tenure, but you've had Ziegler and you've had Nate Lenzer there the whole time. That's a situation where I think, the continuity can be perceived as a good thing. You mentioned the Husker baseball aspect of it as well. who's the last Husker assistant to move on to bigger and better things, right? Sometimes, again, the continuity is helpful when you're trying to build a program and still, I think, nail down the identity of what that Husker baseball team wants to be.
Mm-hmm.
But I think with Nebraska being in the Big Ten, even if Nebraska is a relatively enviable job in the Big Ten, you would think if Nebraska was doing a good enough job, some of those assistants would be getting looked at by your SEC, ACC, even Big 12 kind of schools. And that just hasn't happened.
Yeah, as frustrating as it would be, and we see Georgia, we see Oregon, we see Ohio State, all these schools who these head coaches are bringing in great, offensive coordinators, defensive coordinators who you want to be there forever, but then they're getting head coaching jobs elsewhere. And I think as a head coach of one of those programs, you look at yourself in the mirror and go, yeah, that's pretty cool that I had faith in these guys. I developed these guys to be great coordinators, to be guys that can continue to go on their path of becoming a head coach rather than, at Nebraska, it's, we didn't find the right guy. Let's go elsewhere and see if we have the right guy instead of, what if Josh Martin, not to say he was going to become a coordinator of some sort, but do we have a guy in-house that we think has really developed that could, take over this position rather than us just going, all right, let's find what school can give us the guy we think could fit with us.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see how the offseason continues to develop for Nebraska with spring football just around the corner. We'll see what that special teams room looks like as well, because that's a room that obviously lost its coordinator in Mike Eckler, lost its kick returner in Kenneth Williams, who goes to Michigan State. So Nebraska will see him to open up conference play coming forward. Big thanks to Graham Tire for their sponsorship here of Old School. They're celebrating 75 years of serving the Midwest. 4 locations in Lincoln. Check them out online today. Tristan Gomez, Austin Orman, more of Old School after this.
You're listening to Old School with Jay Foreman and Austin Orman. Download the mobile app and listen wherever you are on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Select Plumbing and Utility has been serving Lincoln and the surrounding area for 14 years, and they're not slowing down. Select Plumbing and Utility handles all your plumbing needs, from faucets and water heaters to full renovations, and they can even help with your heating and cooling needs. They're also Lincoln's underground experts, repairing and replacing broken underground water and sewer lines since day one. Contact Select Plumbing and Utility today at 402-560-6197, assuring excellence in every situation, opportunity, and challenge. That's 402-560-6197.
Tune in to Outside the Box from 4 to 5 p.m. for everything you need to know about the Lincoln Stars. Join head coach Rocky Russo and play-by-play voice Alex Fern as they sit down with special player guests to tell the story of the Lincoln Stars and give you all the news and notes you need from around the USHL. That's Outside the Box with the Lincoln Stars on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Are you tired of your usual barbershop experience? Stop into Scissors and Scotch today. I know what you're thinking. Drink during a haircut? Don't worry. First comes the precision cut from one of their experienced barbers, followed by your complimentary cocktail in their upscale lounge. Scissors and Scotch blends your old school barber feel with your favorite watering hole. And now you can earn $10 off by simply mentioning the ticket. And if you're an existing member, still mention the ticket for an exclusive offer. Offer valid at Lincoln location only. Scissors and Scotch, located just south of 30th and Yankee Hill, and online at lincoln.scissorscotch.com.
Empire Netting and Fence delivers top quality netting and fence solutions. From major sports venues to backyard installs and everything in between, coast to coast. We take on tough jobs with grit, integrity, and a strong commitment to safety. Empire is growing, and we're hiring motivated people ready to grow with us. We build each other up, and we're building something big. Think you've got what it takes? Apply now at empire-fence.com. That's empire-fence.com.
When it comes to concrete, Stevens & Smith Construction doesn't stall. They go for the takedown. As Nebraska's full-service concrete contractor, they stay in bounds, hold inside position, and never forfeit quality. Whether it's foundations, flatwork, or concrete coatings, they elevate performance and pin down results that win every time. Stevens & Smith Construction is a proud sponsor of Takedown Tuesdays on 93.7 The Ticket. Because when it's time to wrestle with concrete, Stevens & Smith Construction slams expectations.
93.7 The Ticket, Fox, KFXL weather. Sponsored by John Henry's Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning.
Your Lincoln forecast for today. A few flurries possible throughout the day. Otherwise, cloudy skies and calm winds. The high near 36. Tonight, some lingering flurries. Otherwise, mainly cloudy. A low around 23. And tomorrow, a chance of flurries. Otherwise, mainly cloudy with a light breeze and a high near 39. I'm meteorologist Kyle Hucker for 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Hi, Sean Callahan here for Koppel Chevrolet GMC, and wow, what a year it was at Koppel. The Koppel family would like to say thank you for a record-setting sales year in 2025. Now let's start 2026 off with a bang. New GMC Sierra pickups starting at $12,500 off list or 0% APR. Also hot off the presses, new Terrain leases at $299 per month. That's right, $299 per month on new GMC Terrain leases. So please stop on in the store or online at koppelcars.com. Stock numbers G138852 and G165184, 2,500 down with proof credit.
Hi, I'm Scott Miller, Business Development Officer at Midwest Bank's Lincoln branches. As a lifelong Lincolnite with over 30 years of experience in financial management, I'm here to help your business grow and succeed. My focus is building strong relationships with businesses and clients across Lincoln. Because at Midwest Bank, we believe banking is about people, not just numbers. Visit us at midwest.bank or stop by one of our Lincoln locations. Your community, your bank. Midwest Bank. Member FDIC.
Mike, I've been thinking our house could really use a makeover. How about new siding?
I've been thinking the same thing. Have you heard of James Hardy?
Yes. Sarah down the street had Roofing Service Company install James Hardy siding on their home, and they love it.
Roofing Service Company does have great reviews.
They took her through the design process and made everything super easy.
Roofing Service Company offers expert design and installation. Couple that with James Hardy's durable products and variety of colors, you and your family will love your exterior remodel. Just visit roofingservicecompany.com. That's roofingservicecompany.com.
Hey guys, this is former UFC fighter and mixed martial artist Anthony Lionheart Smith. The Upside Bar and Lounge in South Lincoln is the go-to spot for every UFC event, prelims, and main card. There's never a cover, so make sure you get there early and stay late. Upside Bar and Lounge has daily specials, a margarita club, and a taco club. And don't forget, they just added Buzz Bowls to their menu. Learn more about upcoming events by visiting UpsideBarLNK.com and stop into their South Lincoln location for every UFC event on 27th and Pine Lake.
Back to old school with Foreman and Orman on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
All right, welcome back in. We continue old school. Austin Orman, Tristan Gomez with you here for the next half an hour or so here on The Ticket. Appreciate you tuning us in on your drive home, 402-464-5685. A couple baseball guys in the studio right now, so let's go ahead and talk some baseball. Let me know on the Sartor Heyman Jewelers text line. Who's your baseball team? What's your biggest offseason headline for them? What's your biggest worry going into the season? Tristan, I'll start that with you. A team or two that maybe has your eye as the spring training opens up in a week.
Well, I think number one, it has to be the Tigers because you have no clue how this arbitration is going to go. And I wish they would televise it because the Tigers, I don't know if they're just a little bit of, playing cheapskate, but when you have, arguably the best pitcher in all of baseball right now, and you're not going, all right, what do we have to do? Let's keep him, because with how baseball is now, if this doesn't go your way, he's ended up probably on the Mets, the Yankees, or the Dodgers, and there's nothing you're going to do about it. And you're going to have to play him probably in the postseason if you make it that far. So the Tigers for sure, especially because of the season that they had last year and the lineup they're turning over, that's continuing to come back when it comes to Torkelson, Kerry Carpenter. They have Green in there. They have a whole bunch of guys that can produce. Another one that we talked about off air is the Mariners. One of the best pitching staffs in all of baseball and have a lot of turnover coming back for them. And then they just got Brendan Donovan, who some people are saying is the truth and is going to be the guy that, takes them to that next step. But I think those are two teams, both in the AL, that, played each other in one of the best series we've seen in the past few years. So those are two teams I'm pretty high on.
Well, let's take the Tigers angle there. You mentioned the season that they had, but when the calendar turned to September, they won one game against the Mets, took 1 out of 3, went 1 out of 3 against the White Sox, did take 2 out of 3 from the Yankees in dominating fashion, went 1 for 3 against the Marlins, and then went on a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 game losing streak, with 5 of those losses coming against the Cleveland Guardians as Cleveland tried to catch them, and ultimately did in the standings. They took the rubber match of the second series against Cleveland 4-2, and then won just 1 out of 3 against Boston to end the regular season. Ended up finishing a game behind the Guardians, who had a -6 run differential on the year and won the division. The whole Tarek Skubal thing, though, is so fascinating. Certainly the best pitcher in the American League right now, maybe in baseball, like you said. And if you're going to be cheap and trade the guy.
Yeah.
Get something out of him, because right now, not only are you pissing him off, his representation off, you're pissing off your fan base by making it this difficult. Maybe you don't have the money. I find that hard to believe that you're, $13 million apart, a record in arbitration, and you're $250 million apart when it comes to contract extension. It seems like there's no coming back from that. And if there's no coming back from it, you're going to get more for Tarek Skubal today than you will at the trade deadline. You'll still get a haul. But what's the point of waiting and risking injury if you're not going to pay the guy? At this point, why not trade him? What's the holdup? Why are you taking all of these? It seems like they've done everything wrong, in this situation. 250 apart on the extension, 13 apart when it comes to just arbitration. You would rather get something for him than nothing. And right now, they're making him mad, and it looks like they're not going to get anything for him.
Yeah, it feels like they almost just expect him to want to be a Tiger and just be in Detroit. I wonder if that's kind of their angle, is they just didn't expect him to want this much money. But when you look at the rest of the league, you look at all these other teams, they all want him. Everyone in the league wants him. Right. So they would pay him if they were in your shoes. So yeah, I agree. It would be extremely unfortunate for Detroit for them to have to trade him, because they just, have created some bad blood between the two and almost not seen the value that Skubal brings. But yeah, trade him, whether it's for guys that are going to come make an impact right now, or you could trade him for some pretty impressive prospects that are going to be playing for you, hopefully for years in the future. But yeah, right now, it just doesn't seem like it's a good vibe in Detroit right now. And spring training's right around the corner. And you kind of got to, have your team have some idea of what's going to be going on this season.
You mentioned the Mariners as well. They finished 3 games clear of Houston, but had wrapped that division up. I think going into that final series with the Dodgers, where the Mariners did get swept by the Dodgers, but still finished 3 games clear of Houston. Really good September for them. It got bookended with 4 straight losses to start it and 3 straight losses to end it. But between Saturday, the 6th of September and the 25th of September, the Mariners lost just 1 time as they made their surge. And then they have a pretty respectable showing then in the postseason, obviously falling ultimately to the Toronto Blue Jays with a chance to go to the World Series. They re-signed Josh Naylor, and just recently they trade for Brendan Donovan, a guy that a lot of different teams were in on. I like Brendan Donovan. Kind of seems like Seattle's offense was more than just a Brendan Donovan away. And I'm not a huge Josh Naylor guy. It strikes me as more a clubhouse kind of deal. He's good enough, maybe not a superstar, but quiet as kept. Julio Rodriguez was officially back last year. No Eugenio Suarez as well. So Donovan probably slots in at third. But of course, with Seattle, it comes down to the pitching. They're top 3 pitchers park in baseball in it's not Safeco anymore. That's what I know it as.
Is it T-Mobile?
Something like that.
T-Mobile.
And I think still a gettable AL West. Like Houston has some questions to answer, especially with Framber Valdez still out there. I like some of what Texas has done, but it just strikes me as a 500 team. Angels, who the heck knows? And the Athletics, I think, are young and promising, but they only won 76 games last year. I think it's Seattle's division to lose at this point, probably in a tight race with Houston. But man, the question for the Mariners fans at this point is, can we get over that postseason hump?
That postseason hump, I think, is just going to come down to the bullpen. I mean, we saw it in that 15-inning game, I believe, last year, where you had multiple starters that had to come into the game because you didn't have a bullpen guy. You didn't have a guy you could really trust. And so I think that's what a lot of teams are struggling with right now. I mean, the Red Sox have been in a similar position for years too, where you just need 1 or 2 bullpen guys that you can rely on consistently. So when your starters, they go 5, if they don't go, 6 or 7 every time, you have a guy that can come out of the bullpen and get you some valuable innings and win you games, because that's what the run differential comes is in the bullpen. You don't have many teams that have just that lockdown, bullpen where they come in and it's maybe 1 or 2 runs and you don't have to worry about anything else. So I think that's what it's going to come down to. And then, in the AL West, I do like the A's. Just they're young and promising, like you said, with Nick Kurtz and Jacob Wilson signing the extension. And so they have some guys that are really promising. It's just, can you put it together? Not a team I would put a whole bunch of money on or really bet on, but a team that I think is, going to cause some havoc and not be a tough series, or is going to be a tough series for plenty of teams this year.
On our starter Heyman Jewelers text line, got Cubsker. I'll give you one guess who his team is.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Cubs.
Yes. He says, my worry is that the Cubs have made some good moves. It's looking like Zach Gallen could become a Cub, but right now it's pitching and bullpen health. That is my worry. Understandable. I think that's with any team going into spring training, is how healthy are your arms coming out of spring training. I think especially for the Cubs, kind of up and down year for Shota Imanaga, who they get back, I think, with a qualifying offer. Cade Horton had that kind of weird rib injury that limited him down the stretch. So what do? They go and they trade a haul for Edward Cabrera, a young controllable starter from the Marlins. What intrigues me, Tristan, about the Cubs is that left side of their infield. You have Dansby Swanson at short, and then they go out and they sign Alex Bregman. Two guys that I think are, certainly top half of the league at their position. Alex Bregman is really good, and I got questions about what Boston's doing, letting him walk after everything that went down with Rafa Devers as well. But top 10 left side of the infield in baseball? At this point, I think both those guys are good, not great. Maybe a little bit more name recognition than production. Nico Horner, might be the best infielder, at second base on that team. Certainly not the biggest name, and maybe there's more in the bat for Bregman. But I just worry, especially offensively, what those two bats on the left side have for the Cubs.
Yeah, when it comes to Bregman, I think he's great. I mean, we saw just glimpses last year with Boston. And then, throughout his time in Houston, it just seemed like there were some months where Alex Bregman was the best hitter in baseball. And so what are the Cubs going to get with him? If they do get the Alex Bregman that is Mr. Consistent and just doesn't strike out and finds ways to be a tough at bat and get on base, I think that's going to be huge for the Cubs. And then, Dansby Swanson is going to be a guy that's consistent at shortstop. The bat seems like it's slowly falling off, but you never know. I mean, I think of a guy like JD Martinez, who randomly will, with his age, just continue to get older and then find a way to have one or two seasons where they absolutely rake. And I love Nico Horner. He was fun to watch when he was at Stanford. And just kind of Mr. Consistent. He's not going to do anything extraordinary, but he's going to find a way to be a tough at bat, get on base. And then, you have arguably the best center fielder in baseball. I'm a little biased towards that because I'm a big PCA fan, but I think you have a lineup that can really do some damage if those guys do produce.
Cubs Crew says Nico is the Cubs version of Bo Bichette. Let's stick in the National League and talk about the Mets. What a retooling, just a new look for them. They ship out Brandon Nimmo, who'd been pretty good for them. You bring in Marcus Semien, who was pretty good for Texas, had an MVP caliber year not that long ago, but he's out the door. You look at Pete Alonso getting allowed to walk out the door, couldn't come to terms with him. He ends up in Baltimore, another, wildly fascinating team for my money. They could really hit, couldn't really pitch it. But then, even the pitching staff, what are you doing? Where's the Mets' big move? Are they going to make this trade? Well, it took them a while, but they finally did it. They make the trade for Freddie Peralta. They also signed Craig Kimbrell just at the end of last month. That was a really interesting trade with the Brewers for Freddie Peralta. Had to give a lot back. That's a 1B in my mind. I don't know if he's quite that true number one, but certainly better than a number two. It was a weird start to the offseason for the Mets, and they get Bo Bichette, kind of get that ball rolling. And I think the big part for me with Bichette is they stole him right out from underneath Philly.
Yeah.
It seems like Philly, once Kyle Tucker was signed by the Dodgers, okay, Bo Bichette, we're coming, we're going to get you. And then, 11th hour, 23rd hour, whatever, I don't know what I'm saying. But here come the Mets to get Bo Bichette. I like that addition for them. I like Freddie Peralta for them. And it's one of those situations with the Mets, Tristan, that you look at them, their payroll every year, they got a bunch of, names that they did enough, I think, to switch things up while still retaining, I think, some of the more important pieces on their team. They kept Alvarez at catcher. I like Francisco Lindor a lot better now that he's out of the American League Central. Even the outfield isn't bad necessarily. I get why Mets fans might be a little underwhelmed, but I think they should be pretty happy with where their offseason ended up.
Yeah, I mean, you have Soto still, who didn't have
that guy.
Yeah, and that guy. You have a guy who didn't have the year that you expected. You probably would have wanted a lot more of them, but he still walked a whole bunch. I mean, he's one of the best guys, creating long at bats, making pitchers have to throw quite a few more pitches.
Can I just say this? It was an underwhelming year for Juan Soto when he went, for 43 homers out of his 152 hits, OPS 921 and OPS plus 160. Wow. And it didn't feel like he had the year that you thought he did. I mean, this is this guy that started stealing bases too.
Yeah.
Like out of nowhere, Juan Soto became one of the best base stealers in baseball. He led the National League with 38 of them. And that's an underwhelming year. Like, it's true, but it's not. It's hilarious.
Yeah, that's unreal. I think people did expect a lot more. And I think a lot of people did have a bad taste in their mouth just seeing, he's going from the Yankees to the Mets. He's just all about the money. But yeah, I mean, he still produced the thing about this Mets team, it just seemed like they didn't produce in the right times. Like in the games they really needed to win.
Well, they had the best record in baseball in mid-June.
Yeah, and it just seemed like towards the later in the season, it just seemed like you had a bunch of all-stars, but you didn't have a team that really found a way to put runs together. And so when the pitching staff wasn't, hot or wasn't doing what you need them to, it was, all right, who can we have hit a home run today? Is it going to be Pete? Is it going to be Francisco? Is it going to be Juan? And if one of those, if those guys weren't having a great day or, really putting together some RBIs, it seemed like nothing was happening. And so I think with Bo Bichette and you have Francisco Lindor, those are two guys that I think will make a huge impact of one, getting on base, but then also they can hit a few guys in. So the Mets, I feel like at times it seems like they're just paying guys because they're like, oh, this is a big name. I think he'll come and help. I think this year, hopefully for them, will be a little bit different where they have two of the, best bats in the league and they can get some, progression going with them.
I got two more teams on my mind a little bit in the National League. Atlanta, decimated by injuries. Pitching staff was hurt, and then the lineup got hurt a little bit as well. They finished 4th in the National League East. They were 3 games back of the Marlins for 3rd. Only a -10 run differential, though, and they're 10 games below 500 at 76 and 86. Atlanta, I think, just has too much talent. And maybe it's because I grew up watching them on TBS and whatnot. And maybe it's the Andrew Jones and Chipper Jones factor and all that. But I just have too much trust in Atlanta to think that the injuries happen again the way they do. And even if they do, I think a year of adjustment there it can really help the Braves. I think it comes down to health for them. I think Philly's still really good. I like the Mets offseason. But I do think we could be headed toward another 3-team race in the National League East if Atlanta's healthy, because that's not necessarily an old team. Getting there, but it's not like all these guys are, 31, 32, 33. They're upper 20s moving toward their 30s. But man, I think Atlanta's a dark horse in that National League East.
Yeah, I mean, you have Ozzie and you have Acuna that are two of, the most consistent bats in the league. Acuna coming off of a, horrific injury, and I think that was just bad for baseball.
Yeah.
But I think I feel like with a lot of times we see an injury where a guy slowly eases his way back, he has some production, and then that year of him fully being healthy and he's back, that's when you really see them start to be dominant. And yeah, I mean, you had Strider who was coming back, still trying to get comfortable. So those are two guys, probably your best players who you needed to get comfortable again, and it just wasn't their year. They're trying to get healthy. I think going into this year in 2026, they're feeling a lot more confident. And then, yeah, I mean, Spencer Schwellebach, our Huskers faithful out here, he got hurt for a little bit. That turned out to be an injury that he didn't even expect and was on the IR for way longer. And now he's back. So I think things are going to be put better into place for this Braves team. But yeah, the NL East always is just a toss up every single year because it seems like sometimes teams are consistent and other times they just fall off because what the Braves start out, they had one of the worst records in baseball to begin the season last year.
Yeah. The other team then for me, and then we'll go to break after this, is in the National League Central, where I think it's a 2-team race right now between the Brewers and the Cubs. I think the Brewers get the benefit of the doubt if the Cubs have made the bigger moves. But there is a third playoff team from the National League Central last year. Now they were there for a good time, not a long time, and it wasn't even a good time. But the Cincinnati Reds swept out of the wild card round. Final score 18-9 across the 2 games on the road against the Dodgers. What's really interesting about them is that their best players last year were pretty much all on the pitching staff. I mean, Hunter Green was a stud. Nick Lodolo under the radar, 4.9 WAR. Andrew Abbott put up almost 6 wins above replacement. Brady Singer didn't collapse like I thought he might in a hitter-friendly ballpark. And the 5th guy in that rotation, Nick Martinez, kind of the old veteran, still put up 2 wins above replacement. They had a couple good relievers as well. But obviously, when you think about the Reds, you're going to think about the middle of the field. You're going to think about 23-year-old Ellie De La Cruz, who turned down a big old contract offer, rumored to be larger than Joey Votto's 10-year, $225 million deal. He says no thank you to that. And I don't know. I haven't really seen the rationale from his camp. It wasn't maybe quite as good a year for him last year. Again, puts up like 3.6 wins above replacement, 109 OPS plus, 777 OPS overall. Certainly an exciting young player in the game of baseball. At 23, there's plenty of room and plenty of runway for him to grow and become more consistent. But man, if I'm Cincinnati and I make a guy that big of an offer and he turns it down, I mean, 10 plus years of stability at, $20 to $30 million a year, Ooh, not a good look, not a great sign. Is this the time if you're Cincy that you have 2 more years to build around him, you look to trade him, or do you just say, oh, you don't want to be here? Okay, we'll ship you out for what we can get now.
I think you wait a little bit. I think you still, I mean, you were, like you said, they somehow made it into the wild card last year. I don't think that was on many people's radars.
Not
and
mine.
Yeah, you still have a similar pitching staff, and then you have Matt McClain in that infield as well. So you have some guys that, this team, not to say they're a World Series contender, maybe not in my eyes, maybe in some people's, but you have a guy that is, kind of a unicorn when you look at him. Like, he's a guy that's playing shortstop, and you go, this is a 6'6" freak of an athlete that can run like the wind. Do we just get rid of him now? I think you maybe hold on to him just for a little bit. And it feels a little bit like, how Mookie Betts waited for the Dodgers instead of staying with the Red Sox, or Bryce Harper was always thinking about the Phillies rather than, sticking with the Nationals. So those are kind of some guys who maybe LA just looked at, or maybe he didn't, and he just thought, I can definitely get a bigger contract somewhere else, maybe where I really want to be. Maybe Cincy isn't his spot and he's looking for one of these big market teams. But I don't think you get rid of him right now. I think you look at your season last year, say, how can we improve to maybe make a bigger run this year? And then we'll look at our circumstances.
Cubs Germ, again, our Cubs fan says, Ellie De La Cruz is good in spurts, but he strikes out way too much and swings at awful pitches. I would still probably take Ellie De La Cruz over O'Neal Cruz in Pittsburgh. I think that's a no doubter. Good young player. Again, he's 23.
Yeah.
It's not like this is a guy that this is what he is. There's still, I think, plenty of runway for him. But here's this from 0034, Tristan. Reds have the farm system to make a move or two in the middle of the summer. Ellie was playing hurt the whole second half. Add Chase Burns getting Rhett Lauder back could be lightning in a bottle. And here's this. They're my dark horse to push the Dodgers.
I don't mind it. Yeah, I totally forgot about Rhett Lauder and Chase Burns, because those are two of, college baseball's
Premier
best
that
we've seen play in Omaha just down the road. If they make it up and they are, all that has been talked about, Chase Burns has been unbelievable, and Rhett Lauder, same thing. They could make a huge impact. And yeah, you could have one of the youngest teams in baseball, youngest, staffs now that really make a huge impact.
I'm trying to pull up the MLB Pipeline Top 100. So if you look at it from MLB Pipeline, the Reds have 4 top 100 guys. Sal Stewart, 22, Alfredo Duno at 38, Steele Hall at 83, and then Rhett Lauder as the number 86 prospect. And Chase Burns probably better than Rhett Lauder. I would think Lauder probably profiles more as that, 3 to 4. Burns has potential, I think, to be a 2. And then don't forget another Nebraska prep guy, Tyson Lewis, is in that system. So I think the Reds are wildly fascinating, which is not really something you've said since like Johnny Cueto was in town for them.
Yeah, that really is. And, prime Joey Votto, just
Joey
Johnny
Votto,
Cueto. That was like
Jay Bruce was there. I think.
That's the last Reds team that you really thought, made a huge impact or made a difference.
That's Tristan Gomez. I'm Austin Orman. We will be right back. This is Old School, brought to you by Graham Tire and Auto. One final segment before we turn things over to Take It Weeknights.
Watch Old School live on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch. Old School with Foreman and Orman on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Hi, I'm Scott Miller, Business Development Officer at Midwest Bank's Lincoln branches. As a lifelong Lincolnite with over 30 years of experience in financial management, I'm here to help your business grow and succeed. My focus is building strong relationships with businesses and clients across Lincoln. Because at Midwest Bank, we believe banking is about people, not just numbers. Visit us at midwest.bank or stop by one of our Lincoln locations. Your community, your bank. Midwest Bank. Member FDIC.
93.7 The Ticket. Fox KFXL weather. Sponsored by John Henry's Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning.
Your Lincoln forecast for today. A few flurries possible throughout the day. Otherwise, cloudy skies and calm winds. The high near 36. Tonight, some lingering flurries. Otherwise, mainly cloudy. A low around 23. And tomorrow, a chance of flurries. Otherwise, mainly cloudy with a light breeze and a high near 39. I'm meteorologist Kyle Hucker for 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Mike, I've been thinking our house could really use a makeover. How about new siding?
I've been thinking the same thing. Have you heard of James Hardy?
Yes. Sarah down the street had roofing service company install James Hardy siding on their home, and they love it.
Roofing Service Company does have great reviews.
They took her through the design process and made everything super easy.
Roofing Service Company offers expert design and installation. Couple that with James Hardy's durable products and variety of colors, you and your family will love your exterior remodel. Just visit roofingservicecompany.com. That's roofingservicecompany.com.
Stop asking your friends if they're hosting a party this Sunday and come join the real party instead. Join 93.7 The Ticket for the Super Bowl at Buffalo Wings and Rings at 68th and O this Sunday and walk away with great prizes just for showing up. Why worry about making a great spread of foods for the game at your house when you can enjoy all the great wings and more at Buffalo Wings and Rings? It's the Super Bowl party with 93.7 The Ticket at Buffalo Wings and Rings this Sunday at 68th and O.
Select Plumbing and Utility has been serving Lincoln and the surrounding area for 14 years, and they're not slowing down. Select Plumbing and Utility handles all your plumbing needs from faucets and water heaters to full renovations, and they can even help with your heating and cooling needs. They're also Lincoln's underground experts, repairing and replacing broken underground water and sewer lines since day one. Contact Select Plumbing and Utility today at 402-560-6197, assuring excellence in every situation, opportunity, and challenge. That's 402-560-6197.
Empire Netting and Fence delivers top quality netting and fence solutions. From major sports venues to backyard installs and everything in between, coast to coast. We take on tough jobs with grit, integrity, and a strong commitment to safety. Empire is growing, and we're hiring motivated people ready to grow with us. We build each other up, and we're building something big. Think you've got what it takes? Apply now at empire-fence.com. That's empire-fence.com.
Are you tired of your usual barbershop experience? Stop into Scissors and Scotch today. I know what you're thinking. Drink during a haircut? Don't worry. First comes the precision cut from one of their experienced barbers, followed by your complimentary cocktail in their upscale lounge. Scissors and Scotch blends your old school barber feel with your favorite watering hole. And now you can earn $10 off by simply mentioning the ticket. And if you're an existing member, still mention the ticket for an exclusive offer. Offer valid at Lincoln location only. Scissors and Scotch, located just south of 30th and Yankee Hill, and online at lincoln.scissorscotch.com.
If you're seeking a career with a growing company, Gaina Trucking and Excavating is hiring and looking for additions to their team. Gaina Trucking has a strong team culture, competitive pay, 401ks, and benefits like health, dental, and vision. Drivers are guaranteed 40 hours per week, even in the winter months, and are home every night. Start your career today at Gaina Trucking and Excavating. Apply today at gainatrucking.com.
At Parkview Animal Hospital in Lincoln, it's not just their professional care that sets them apart, but their warm staff and state-of-the-art facilities. Whether it's for a routine checkup or a comprehensive medical procedure, at Parkview, your pet isn't just another number, but a valued member of their caring family. Visit them at pahlincoln.com today and in person just south of 14th and Pine Lake Road. Parkview Animal Hospital, your pet, their passion, for happier, healthier, furry friends.
Hi, Sean Callahan here with Koppel Chevrolet GMC, and wow, what a year it was at Koppel. The Koppel family would like to say thank you for a record-setting sales year in 2025. Now let's start 2026 off with the bang. New GMC Sierra pickups starting at $12,500 off list or 0% APR. Also hot off the presses, new Terrain leases at $299 per month. That's right, $299 per month on new GMC Terrain leases. So please stop on in the store or online at koppelcars.com. Stock numbers G138852 and G16518. 2,500 down with proof credit.
Bauer Underground has been serving local contractors and utility contractors all across the state since 1997. When you see the black and white trucks, you know that the best workers in the business have arrived. Bauer is currently looking for equipment operators, laborers, diesel mechanics, and aerial linemen. Join the brotherhood built on hard work, authentic people, and a pedigree of success. They're offering top-notch benefits, a matching 401k, and a $600 per year clothing allowance. Bauer Underground, a family-friendly company with plenty of room for advancement.
Back to old school with Foreman and Orman on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Welcome back in one final time. Austin Norman, Tristan Gomez with you. Short segment here on Old School before we turn it over to Mark Manning and Rich Lovett for Takedown Tuesday with Nebraska Wrestling. The other team that came to mind, Tristan, I did want to mention when it comes to Major League Baseball is the Baltimore Orioles. Last year certainly did not go their way. They dropped from 91 wins down to 75 and 87, which was fifth in the American League East. They were 12 games under 500, but a run differential of minus 111. A worse run differential than the White Sox, who won 15 fewer games. That's what'd that be? 27 runs worse even than the Oakland A's, who won only one more game than Baltimore did. Just really bad when they were bad. Baltimore didn't make a whole bunch of moves, but I think that the interesting moves for them, Felix Bautista comes back from injury. That'll be big for them in the back of their bullpen. They signed Pete Alonso, like we mentioned. They signed Ryan Helsley, who had an up and down year. Results weren't there, but still throws hard. The two trades they made, I think, were wildly fascinating. They go get a frontline starter. I don't think a one, but certainly a potential two in Shane Baz. Give up a lot for him. And an interesting, kind of change of scenery guy, Taylor Ward, for Grayson Rodriguez, a former, top prospect on the bump. That AL East is competitive. Baltimore had to do something. They couldn't stay put. I still like Brandon Hyde as a manager. I'm glad that he's still, or he was in place. Obviously, they fire him early. I didn't quite understand that one. When your entire pitching staff just goes underwater the way Baltimore's did, hard for me to blame the manager there. I mean, they shuffled through all sorts of different guys and no one really clicked. Their best guy, probably Dean Kramer, who put up 2 wins above replacement with a 4.19 ERA. So it was hard for me to blame Brandon Hyde for that one. I was kind of bummed to see him go from Baltimore, but this is a team that's going to match. We know all about that lineup top to bottom. They go get, the back end of their bullpen back. They get a frontline starter, add another bat. Baltimore at least has my curiosity, even if I'm not sure I'd pick them to win the AL East right now.
Yeah, I think the tough thing is we just always see in Major League Baseball is you need, at least 3 starters. I feel like guys that can really be consistent, and you see that run differential. That's just because, even if they were putting up, 3 or 4 runs that could win them some ball games, they were allowing 10 or letting it get out of hand. Didn't have much of a bullpen. And yeah, like you said, they're going to absolutely match. When you have Rutschman, you have Henderson, now you have Pete Alonso. Like, we're probably going to see a lot of home runs at Cameron Gardens. So it's just going to be, can this pitching staff keep up to let this offense go to work, especially in this AL East where all these teams are going to be able to mash.
The teams that allowed the most runs in baseball last year. Yeah, the Baltimore Orioles allowing 788 runs, third worst in the American League. Also last in the division, but the second worst team at run prevention was the Toronto Blue Jays, who allowed 721. Those are the only 2 teams over 700 in that division. You obviously had 2 pretty bad pitching staffs in the Twins and the White Sox, but Baltimore eclipsed them in terms of the stinkitude. Then the A's and the Angels both gave up over 800 runs. And then it gets worse when you get to the National League. You think giving up 837 and 817 runs was bad. May I introduce you to the Washington Nationals, who gave up 899 runs.
Well, I thought it was going to be the Rockies.
Oh, just wait. I'm getting there.
Okay.
Because then you have to go down to the Rockies, who gave up 1,021 runs.
Oh my god!
En route to a minus 424 run differential last year, going 43 and 119.
That is absolutely miserable.
1,000 runs.
Those have to be some tough games. You tune into the Rockies and you just see them; they're just getting demolished, and then you're just like, you almost feel bad. You're like, I know you're a big leaguer making millions, but I feel bad for you.
Let's just look at their September, the Rockies September, just to see how bad it got. So they give up 4-6, 7-6, 4. Actually pitch a shutout in St. Louis. 5-18, 5-6, 4-5. They win a 17-16 game against Pittsburgh. 5-9, 15-10, 26-6, 13, 3, 0, 5, 8, 3, 7, 5, 3, 4. Oh, this is all the way back. I was reading way too many numbers to get to September. Anyways, they didn't allow fewer than 4 runs for like the last week of the year, and very rarely were they below 3. So we know it's tough to pitch at altitude there in Coors, but 1,000 runs given up,
crushing.
1,000.
Oh, poor place to be a pitcher.
Oh man, and a hitter.
Yeah,
at this point, the lack of line of protection around you. So I don't think the Rockies hold really anyone's intrigue entering this year. Tristan, appreciate you hopping in. Thanks, man.
Absolutely.
He's Tristan Gomez. I'm Austin Norman. This has been Old School, brought to you by the good folks over at Graham Tire Company. They're celebrating 75 years of serving the Midwest. More than just tires, they do all kinds of car and light truck repairs, too. From brakes to oil changes, trust Graham Tire for service you can count on. Graham Tire, getting you to the places that matter most. He's Tristan. I'm Austin. We got Husker Wrestling head coach Mark Manning, Ridge Levitt in the building. Takedown Tuesday after this.
Empire Netting and Fence delivers top quality netting and fence solutions. From major sports venues to backyard installs and everything in between, coast to coast. We take on tough jobs with grit, integrity, and a strong commitment to safety. Empire is growing, and we're hiring motivated people ready to grow with us. We build each other up, and we're building something big. Think you've got what it takes? Apply now at empire-fence.com. That's empire-fence.com.
Select Plumbing and Utility has been serving Lincoln and the surrounding area for 14 years, and they're not slowing down. Select Plumbing and Utility handles all your plumbing needs, from faucets and water heaters to full renovations, and they can even help with your heating and cooling needs. They're also Lincoln's underground experts, repairing and replacing broken underground water and sewer lines since day one. Contact Select Plumbing and Utility today at 402-560-6197, assuring excellence in every situation, opportunity, and challenge. That's 402-560-6197.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com.
On the internet.
KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket.
This ain't pop. This ain't pretty. This is Southern hospitality. The Black Crows. Blues-soaked guitars, outlaw swagger. The Southern Hospitality Tour.